There's probably no one here who hasn't watched Samurai Jack. Telling the story of the battle between the evil Aku and a noble samurai, Samurai Jack was one of Cartoon Network's most successful shows. In this video, I'm going to explain the entire story of Samurai Jack from beginning to end in detail. If you've subscribed to the channel and liked the video, let's get into it. In the beginning, long before existence had taken shape and before humanity filled the earth, three great gods emerged and began to cleanse the universe of darkness. These gods, capable of taking physical forms, possessed cosmic energies beyond human comprehension. They were known as Odin, Ra, and Rama. The gods worked together in the creation of the universe, using the energy of pure light to maintain the balance of existence. As time passed, this divine light continued to shape the universe, stretching across galaxies. In this universe, time travel was not possible through magical objects, but only through ancient time portals formed within the fabric of space and time. However, over time, the Titans led by King Kranos seized control of creation. Meanwhile, deep within the universe, an unknown dark mass began to take shape. In his pursuit of power, Kranos unraveled the secrets of time and space and created the Bronze Eye along with three special jewels. These mystical artifacts allowed him to shape the universe and time as he wished. Containing a trapped cosmic essence, these jewels granted unimaginable power to those who possessed them. Through them, Kranos gained the ability to create and destroy at will, ruling almost like a god. But this limitless power eventually corrupted him and led him down a dark path. By using his power recklessly, Kranos disrupted the balance of existence. His uncontrolled dominance continued until he was ultimately defeated by his own son. After his fall, Kranos was imprisoned in the farthest depths of the universe, and the jewels he created fell to Earth, lost forever. Humanity, lacking the capacity to understand the divine nature of these remnants, remained completely unaware of their true potential. Meanwhile, the dark mass in the universe continued to grow at a terrifying rate. It consumed everything in its path, becoming stronger with every being it destroyed. Eventually, its power reached such catastrophic levels that the gods were forced to intervene. Only the sacred weapons of the gods could harm this monstrous force. After a long and difficult battle, the gods succeeded in destroying the mass. However, a massive fragment broke off and escaped, drifting through space before eventually crashing into Earth. According to legend, this dark fragment struck the Earth during the age of dinosaurs, causing a massive, catastrophic explosion. This event led to the mass extinction of the dinosaurs and became the first sign of the destructive power of the dark mass. After the impact, the mass sank deep into the Earth and formed a fortress surrounded by massive black spikes rising from the ground. This fortress drained the planet's life energy, causing an unprecedented drought. And when the drought ended, the world was plunged into an endless age of snowfall. Neanderthals were the first beings to experience these brutal conditions. As the world became covered in ice and snow, the fortress of the dark mass was buried beneath the frozen wasteland. Yet even under the ice, its influence continued to spread. Every living creature that fell into the black liquid produced by the mass unknowingly fueled its growth. Centuries passed, and humans began forming small villages. But the dark mass continued its merciless expansion, consuming everything in its path and leaving barren lands behind. Many villages were erased from existence as it passed through. One day, a brave emperor decided to stand against this great evil. He swore to end the darkness and protect humanity. A special elixir, believed to have the power to destroy the dark force, was prepared for him. Leaving behind his pregnant wife, the emperor gathered his warriors and set out on a dangerous journey into the cursed lands to find the source of the darkness. As they advanced, they encountered massive black spikes rising from the ground. His knights were struck down one by deadly projectiles emerging from the earth. In the end, only the emperor remained, but he was determined to succeed. He coated his arrow with a sacred elixir, whispered a prayer, and fired it into the heart of the dark mass. He expected the arrow to destroy it. But what happened next was beyond even his worst nightmares. The moment the arrow struck, the dark mass awakened and took the form of a massive, terrifying being. As the emperor watched in horror, the creature thanked him for awakening it. Then, it impaled the emperor to the ground and reduced his palace to ashes. This terrifying entity gave itself a name, Aku. All the emperor could do was scream in anger and despair. To truly understand Aku's nature and the immense danger he posed, one had to realize that no ordinary weapon could harm him. The only weapons capable of harming it were those created by the gods or forged from pure, unwavering goodness. As Aku continued to burn the emperor's palace, a massive white horse suddenly appeared before him. It carried the wounded emperor beyond the clouds to the very top of the sky, a place no ordinary being could reach without a guide. There, the emperor encountered 3 sages, and soon after, the 3 gods, Odin, Ra, and Rama, appeared before him. The gods told him that only human virtue could defeat Aku's evil and that his true hope lay within himself. Then they summoned lightning and created a sphere of steel. The sages struck the sphere with their hammers, forging a magical sword from pure righteousness. This sword, born from the essence of the human spirit, carried all goodness within it and had only one purpose: to defeat Aku. It could only be used for just causes. Even if it fell into the hands of someone evil, it would never harm the innocent. When the sword was finally complete, the gods handed it to the emperor and declared that he now had the power to destroy Aku. However, they strictly warned him not to attempt to understand Aku's magic. The gods also gifted the emperor a suit of steel armor and sent him on his journey atop a cloud toward his destiny. When the emperor returned to his palace, he attacked Aku, but Aku only laughed at his efforts. With the help of the cloud, the emperor struck again and hit Aku with a magical sword. A long and brutal battle began. Though Aku was a formidable opponent, the emperor's unwavering determination and the divine power of the sword ultimately prevailed. With one final powerful strike, the emperor sealed Aku within the sword and drove it into the ground, locking his fate. At that moment, a massive black tree sprouted from the earth, the rain ceased, and the sun shone again, heralding a new age of peace. At that very moment, the emperor's son was born. With his son's birth, the emperor realized that humanity must be prepared in case evil ever returned. To secure the future, he gathered the leaders of nearby villages and formed a sacred pact to train their sons for battle if Aku were ever to rise again. However, only the emperor's son was destined to wield the magical sword. This unnamed child would become humanity's final hope if darkness ever returned. Meanwhile, the boy, Jack, grew up in golden wheat fields, playing freely and occasionally meeting other children. As a young child, Jack would craft small figures from wheat leaves, but far greater things awaited him. On a fateful day, Jack witnessed a battle, one lone swordsman standing against 4 powerful warriors. This incredible sight ignited something within him, and in his free time, he began pretending to be a swordsman, playing out his own heroic battles. When Jack was just 8 years old, something unexpected happened: a solar eclipse. With this celestial event, the seal that had trapped Aku deep within the earth was shattered, and Aku was released once again. Filled with the thrill of his return, Aku unleashed his endless rage upon the world, seeking to destroy everything that stood against him. His first target was the palace of his greatest enemy, the Emperor. With Aku's arrival, the once magnificent palace was instantly reduced to ruins. Amid this chaos and destruction, Jack's mother took him and set out on a long, dangerous journey, while the Emperor stayed behind to protect the legendary magical sword. During this escape, Jack received his first training: astronomy. Even at such a young age, he learned how to navigate by looking at the stars. Their journey eventually took them to Arabia, where Jack mastered horseback riding. From there, he traveled to Africa and received close combat training. His arrival in Africa was seen as a bad omen, a sign that Aku had returned. Realizing the urgency of his training, the local tribes accepted him among them. At first, the chief's son excluded Jack, but over time, they became inseparable friends. Together, they went through intense training and learned various combat techniques. While Jack was sharpening his skills, Aku was enjoying the riches of the world. He discovered mysterious red gems that provided immense power. Although their true nature was unknown, it was clear that the more he possessed, the stronger he became. Aku was aware that somewhere in the world, a child was being trained to challenge him. Determined to eliminate this threat, he issued a decree promising great treasure to anyone who captured the boy. As a result, bounty hunters began searching across lands to find him. On that fateful day, a group of warriors attacked the African village where Jack was training and captured everyone. Jack's first real mission was now clear: to rescue his entire tribe on his own. With pure courage and skill, he fought against the warriors and ultimately freed his people. Witnessing his extraordinary abilities, the tribal leader realized there was nothing left to teach him. Jack had surpassed even the greatest warriors. Continuing his journey, Jack traveled to Egypt, where he studied literature and philosophy. Meanwhile, Aku, frustrated that none of his attempts to stop Jack had worked, began searching for a new strategy. When Jack eventually challenged him using the magical sword, Aku realized an important truth: no matter how powerful he was, he could still be defeated. In desperation, Aku began seeking a powerful spell known as the Threads of Time, which allowed travel through time. Determined to secure his survival, he stole this magic from the heavens and studied it until he mastered it completely. After obtaining this knowledge, he destroyed the threads to ensure no one else could use them against him. However, he didn't realize that the remaining fibers still contained the essence of time travel magic. From that moment on, Aku gained control over time itself, able to open portals to different eras whenever he wished, giving him endless escape routes. At the same time, he continued using his dark magic to spread terror, destroying nations across the world. Returning to the boy's journey, over the years, Jack had become an incredibly powerful warrior. In Greece, he learned to fight in arenas. In England, he met a group of archers and mastered the art of archery. He sailed the seas with Vikings aboard a pirate ship. In Russia, he endured the harsh life of a woodsman and trained rigorously. In Mongolia, he mastered horseback combat. At a temple, he trained in martial arts and befriended someone named Tamsu, who would later become an important figure Jack would encounter again 1,000 years in the future. After completing his training, Jack went to a Buddhist settlement and reunited with his mother. She presented him with the legendary magical sword, and Jack continued training with it until he turned 25. When his training was complete, Jack set out to find Aku and restore peace to his homeland. As he approached Aku's castle, he discovered that his father had been enslaved by Aku. Filled with rage, Jack confronted Aku and demanded the return of his home and people. A fierce battle began between them. Wielding the magical sword, Jack easily defeated Aku. At that moment, Aku was not yet at full power, and Jack had a real chance to destroy him. But just as Jack was about to deliver the final blow, Aku used his time magic to send him 1,000 years into the future. This was Aku's ultimate plan: to send Jack so far into the future that he would have no allies left, and Aku would become nearly unstoppable. With no warriors or weapons left to stand against him, the power of Aku grew exponentially over the centuries. He built a massive dystopian metropolis known as Aku City. Despite being the most technologically advanced city in the universe, it was also the worst place imaginable, a perfect reflection of Aku's chaos and evil. For 1,000 years, Aku ruled with an iron fist, using fear, manipulation, and oppression to maintain control. After surviving Jack's attack, he wasted no time expanding his empire. He conquered the entire planet, enslaving anyone who opposed him. Workers were forced into mines to extract mysterious red jewels, an unknown energy source that further increased his power. Even animals were affected. Over time, dogs evolved, learning to walk upright and even speak like humans. As centuries passed, they forgot their primitive nature, no longer remembering that they once barked and walked on 4 legs. The first talking dog was discovered in the ruins of an abandoned ancient structure. Despite Aku's overwhelming control, resistance movements began to rise across the world. Many refused to submit to his rule and continued fighting against his tyranny. Among these warriors were the Shaolin monks, temple fighters who had once trained alongside Samurai Jack. Led by Jack's old friend Tamsu, the monks continued their resistance against Aku. Through centuries of intense meditation and training, they achieved extraordinary abilities. Some could manipulate objects using the wind or even levitate. Tamsu, however, surpassed them all, becoming one with nature itself. By drawing energy and sustenance directly from the earth, he achieved a form of immortality and continued his resistance for thousands of years. To accelerate his conquests, Aku began forming powerful alliances with the most terrifying beings imaginable. Among his darkest allies were terrifying figures such as Dongo, a soul-devouring demon, DJ Scaramouche, whose hypnotic music enslaved anyone who listened, shadow-trained shinobi assassins, the narc aliens known as cunning scammers, ruthless mercenaries, the mysterious assassin cult known as the Daughters of Aku, and a militant organization devoted entirely to worshiping him. Aku also relied heavily on technology, assigning brilliant but malevolent scientists to design advanced robotic warriors. At first, these robots were primitive and ineffective, but over time, they evolved into terrifying killing machines. One of the first powerful models, known as X, became a cold and ruthless war machine programmed to obey Aku without question. With these unstoppable forces under his command, Aku tightened his grip on the world, believing no one could stand against him. Yet despite his absolute power, rumors began to spread of a warrior with a magical sword who could overthrow him. One day, a scientist implanted an experimental emotion chip into the X-49 model. This version proved far superior in combat against the resistance. However, over time, it began to distinguish between good and evil, and eventually, burdened by guilt, it withdrew from battle. One day, it encountered a small dog it named Lulu and formed a deep bond with it. By then, scientists had moved on to developing newer models, leaving X-49 behind. Meanwhile, Aku continued his conquests across the world. No one could escape his wrath. With his magical mirror, he could see everything, and fleets of spaceships patrolled the skies, enforcing his absolute control over the planet. Despite ruling Earth, Aku craved even more power. Just as he had done to Earth, he began opening portals to other galaxies to exploit their resources. This reckless expansion caused massive imbalance throughout the universe. Thousands of species were forced to migrate, some fleeing to Earth after their planets were destroyed, while others left in search of safer worlds. Among those who arrived were both survivors seeking refuge and beings that brought chaos with them. Many alien species offered their technology or unique abilities to Aku in exchange for land, claiming fertile regions of Earth. As a result, countless new races emerged across the planet. Some, like the Hari, settled peacefully. Others, like the Chislets, enslaved those they encountered. A massive underground arena known as Doom Dome was also established, where aliens fought in brutal street battles for entertainment and profit. All of these changes further destabilized the universe. Aku's narcissism reached such extreme levels that he didn't just control the planet, he also took over global trade, the stock market, and every form of commerce. Society had become completely unrecognizable. After finding no trace of the samurai for centuries, Aku believed he was gone. But after 1,000 years, the samurai suddenly reappeared in the future, a world where he would face countless dangers along his path. As he escaped from machines and impressed the aliens around him, they gave him the nickname Jack, which became his identity in the future. Choosing not to reveal his real name, the samurai embraced this title and introduced himself as Jack. His ultimate goal was clear: to find a portal that would allow him to return to the past. Within less than an hour of arriving in this strange new world, Jack fought his first battles and quickly realized that most of the inhabitants were robots. It was said that Jack had never killed a human, something that worked in his favor, allowing him to fight with full force without remorse. Soon, he encountered talking dogs who had no memory of their origins. While helping them with excavation work, Aku learned that the elite samurai had returned. In response, he sent hundreds of robotic beetles to attack. However, Jack defeated the entire army and freed the talking dogs. From that day on, Aku became determined to eliminate him before he could find a way back to the past, assembling an endless army of assassins to hunt him down. But it wasn't just the assassins. This world itself was incredibly dangerous. After freeing the dogs, Jack also rescued a peaceful species known as the Woolies, who were enslaved by the ruthless Chislets. He later helped a group of scientists who were forced to work for Aku, producing advanced alpha technology. During his journey, Jack met a mysterious woman, and together they set out to find a powerful jewel. But when they finally found it, the woman destroyed it. And Jack soon realized a shocking truth: she had never existed. She was none other than Aku in disguise. On another occasion, Jack fought a dark reflection of himself, a monstrous entity born from the psychological torment Aku had inflicted upon him. During these adventures, Jack also met a Scottish warrior who would become one of his closest and most trusted allies. Jack later helped rescue his friend's wife, and in return, the Scotsman aided Jack on a dangerous sea journey that could restore his lost memories. At a sacred location, small sheep-like creatures were guarding a time portal. Just as Jack finally stepped inside, Aku suddenly appeared, dragged him out, and destroyed the last remaining portal. As if that wasn't enough, Aku transformed those innocent, game-like creatures into giant monsters and unleashed them on Jack. Consumed by rage, Jack fought with everything he had, but when he defeated them, they reverted back to their original innocent forms. At that moment, Jack realized the painful truth. He had killed innocent beings who had nothing to do with the battle. This devastating realization shattered his spirit. He dropped his sword, and instead of reclaiming it, he accepted defeat. He hadn't just lost his sword, he had lost his purpose. The samurai within him was broken. His will was gone. He was completely exhausted from war, from failure, from everything. This despair slowly consumed him, and 50 years passed. Over time, Samurai Jack developed an inner voice, an alter ego that questioned his very existence and mocked him from within. Strangely, during those 50 years, he hadn't aged at all. It seemed that traveling through time had completely stopped his aging process. While this was a blessing in one sense, it also became an endless torment, trapping him in an infinite cycle of suffering. At this point, the story transitions into the events of Samurai Jack Season 5. About 20 years before these events, a secret cult devoted to Aku had emerged. This cult worshipped Aku, built statues in his honor, and constructed temples dedicated to him. One day, not long after the cult was formed, Aku himself appeared before them and praised their unwavering loyalty. As a reward, he left behind a part of himself and a sacred chalice at the center of their temple. One of the cult members drank from this chalice and soon became pregnant. From this ritual, a child was born, Ashi, who was raised alongside her 6 sisters in front of Aku's statue. The cult declared them to be the 7 daughters of Aku, devoted entirely to his will. Their sole purpose in life was to hunt down and destroy Samurai Jack. From the moment they were born, they were taught to see Jack as the enemy of their god and to worship Aku without question. They never once doubted this belief. They knew Aku was pure evil and that his power was limitless, but they never truly understood the nature of their own existence. One day, when the daughters came of age, they set out to find Jack, eager to kill him with their own hands. Meanwhile, having lost his sword, Jack adapted to a new fighting style. He acquired new weapons and tools, and eventually confronted Aku's deadly assassin, Scaramouche. After a brutal battle, Jack defeated Scaramouche, leaving behind his severed head. Not long after, Aku's daughters tracked him down and launched a merciless attack, determined to end his life once and for all. Believing they were just another group of robots, Jack fought back without hesitation. But then something unexpected happened. He killed one of them. In that moment, he realized a terrifying truth. They weren't machines, they were human. For the first time in his life, Samurai Jack had taken a human life. The weight of this truth hit him harder than any wound he had ever suffered. His heart ached far more than his physical injuries, and from that moment on, war would never be the same for him. He had never killed a human before, but as he realized that choices define who we are, and that fighting them was ultimately his own decision, he chose to keep fighting. None of them backed down. Every one of them was willing to risk their lives against him. Yet they were defeated. Only one remained, and though Jack could have killed her, he chose not to. Her name was Ashi. She was extremely aggressive, her heart filled with Aku's hatred since birth. She had been raised to believe that Aku was good and Samurai Jack was evil. Jack tried to show her that everything she had been taught was wrong, but Ashi refused to believe him. At that moment, they were suddenly swallowed by a massive creature. They barely managed to escape from its stomach, and during that time, Jack saved Ashi's life 4 times. Despite everything, she still tried to kill him. Then something small but powerful happened. A ladybug landed on Ashi's head, triggering a memory from her past. She remembered reaching out to gently touch a ladybug during her training days, only for her mother to crush it, telling her that such meaningless distractions had no place in Aku's world. Now, seeing a ladybug land on Jack's hand, and watching him let it go unharmed, Ashi began to question everything she had ever been taught. Meanwhile, the Scotsman launched a massive attack against Aku, leading his many daughters into battle. Though he was struck down by Aku, his spirit lived on. He later found Jack and helped plan a large-scale assault against Aku. Over time, Ashi grew accustomed to Jack and asked him to tell her the truth. Jack explained how Aku had destroyed countless lives, oppressed humanity, and ruled with cruelty. Horrified by what she learned, Ashi realized something had to be done to stop him. But Jack, broken by years of failure, believed there was no way to defeat Aku. At that moment, a blue-skinned man approached them, saying his children had been kidnapped. Jack and Ashi set out to rescue them. During the rescue, the children appeared lifeless. Believing he had failed once again, Jack fell into despair and prepared to commit harakiri. But Ashi realized the children were still alive. By coincidence, they encountered many beings Jack had saved throughout his journey. Grateful for his heroism, these people had built monuments in his honor, without him ever knowing. Determined, Ashi found Jack and told him that he had saved countless lives, proving that his existence had meaning. She reassured him that the children were alive. Her words changed Jack's mind. He decided to search for his sword once again. With Ashi by his side, protecting him, Jack embarked on a long spiritual journey. During this time, Ashi confronted her own mother and killed her. Jack overcame his inner ego and passed the trials set by the gods. As a reward, they returned his sword to him. Now more determined than ever, Jack continued his search for Aku. Along the way, he and Ashi grew closer and eventually fell in love. Meanwhile, Scaramouche, whom Jack had previously defeated, managed to reach Aku and inform him that Jack had lost his sword. Unaware of the truth, Aku was overjoyed. After repairing Scaramouche's body, he set out immediately to find Jack. But when they finally met, Aku realized that Jack had already regained his sword, and in a fit of rage, he tore Scaramouche apart. At that moment, Aku sensed something unusual about Ashi. From her scent, he realized she was his daughter. Taking control of her, Aku forced Ashi to attack Jack. Unable to harm her, Jack made a devastating choice. He surrendered his sword to Aku. Aku captured Samurai Jack and took him to his castle, chaining him in front of the entire world. To prove his victory and crush all hope, Aku broadcast Jack's captivity everywhere. But instead of breaking the world's spirit, this act ignited the anger of every being Jack had ever helped. From all corners of the world, people united for one final resistance against Aku, sparking a massive uprising. Meanwhile, Jack was trying to free Ashi from Aku's control. At the very last moment, he succeeded by telling her that he loved her. Just as Aku was about to destroy Ashi, she suddenly realized that she had inherited Aku's powers. Using these newly discovered abilities, she freed Jack, returned his sword, and created a portal to the past. Through this portal, they traveled back to the Edo period. The samurai who had once been thrown 1,000 years into the future by Aku now stood side by side with Ashi, back in the past. And in that moment, Aku was finally destroyed. At last, Jack had won. Peace returned across the universe. With everything finally set right, Jack began preparing to marry Ashi. But just as everything seemed perfect, Ashi suddenly collapsed. In horror, she realized the truth. Since Aku no longer existed, she had never been born. Fading away in Jack's arms, she disappeared from existence. Victorious, yet heartbroken, the samurai mourned her loss. But in the end, it was over. Aku was gone forever. And that's it. This was the complete story of Samurai Jack from beginning to end. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out the full story of Adventure Time from the card in the top right. See you in the next video.